So if posture isn't supported well over time, then you can get changes to the shape of your body. So it could be that maybe you start to lean more, and so it's what we call a scoliosis, where the spine starts to lean more. Could be that you get changes in the position of your pelvis, so you could have one side higher or forward or tilting in a different way. And then other things that can happen are you could get like shortening of muscles. If you end up sitting in one particular position a lot of the time and your posture's not changed during the course of the day or the night, then you can get shortening of your muscles and lengthening of other muscles. So you can kind of get an imbalance of muscles, and then that kind of makes you have to sit in that position if those changes get established and become what we call contractures. So if you get contractures of muscle, that can mean that you won't be able to move your legs back in a particular way. And those changes to your muscles or your pelvis or your spine, if they become sort of established problems and become fixed, then it's really hard to then be able to change your posture to correct it, if you like. I mean, I would say yes, probably, because if you aren't, like I said, if you aren't well supported, then your body's working harder maybe to stay in a position, or you might be hanging off your joints. So, for example, if you're in lying and you can't straighten your legs, then your legs won't just stay in the middle. If there's no support there, because of gravity, they'll fall to the side, which can then put strain on your hip joint. And could cause pressure on the side that you're leaning on. So I would say yes, definitely you can get pain as a result of not being well supported in sitting or lying or standing. So the go-to bits of equipment that I would start with are your own kind of pillows and towels and blankets that you've got around the house, because initially you want to see whether or not you can tolerate support in lying. So when I'm assessing somebody for support in lying, I'll go, okay, can you grab me all the pillows and towels and soft blankets that you have, so that we can just see to start with whether or not you can tolerate support under your legs. But the main places to start with support in lying particularly would be, if you can't straighten your leg, fill the gap that's left underneath there, because then you're not working as hard to try and keep your legs in a position, or your legs won't tend to fall down to the bed. So there's loads of different pieces of equipment out there that you can Google once you know what you need. But I would always say start with pillows and towels and kind of fill the gaps underneath you. If your legs don't go straight, fill the gaps that are there, because then that will potentially make more comfortable position and less likely to create pressure and potential tightening around the muscles. So yeah, but also I would say, if you're not sure, then get somebody who, your professional physio or an OT or a therapist, that can assess you to find out what you need, because lying in an unsupported position long term will have a really negative impact on how you sit, and you'll find that there'll be changes happening in your seated position as a result of being unsupported in lying. That's a tricky one, because it depends on your preference. So when I'm talking to people about lying support and introducing lying support, or talking to people that might be assessing for lying support, I always say it's really hard, because we all have different preferences. So like, I might like to lie on my side or my front or my back, and you might like to lie in another position. I might get really hot, you might get really cold, and so that's really difficult. In terms of optimizing the amount of support you can get, lying on your back would be my preference as a therapist, because you can spread the load more easily, you can support the person more easily in theory, you've got a greater surface area, and the impact of gravity could be less detrimental to when you lie on your side, because it can kind of twist you and squash you more easily, whereas on your back you've got more of a base of support, and it's easier to put support in for somebody lying on their back. That being said, if you're not comfortable lying on your back, then it's not going to be a good position for sleep, because the primary function at night time is to sleep. So it has to be comfort that overrides anything else, and preference. So I think the thing about wheelchairs is there are so many different wheelchairs out there, and they're all do various different things. They're all sold with various different functions. I don't think there's necessarily better or worse wheelchairs, but you need them to be the right shape for you. So one of the things that I would definitely recommend, which I think can be challenging for people with MS, is having a wheelchair that has tilt in space on it. And that means that the seat and the back angle stays the same, but the whole chair tilts. Because if you're sitting upright all the time, the effect of gravity is just huge, and it's much more effortful for somebody to sit. If you can change the orientation of your seat and then gravity's pushing here as opposed to on top of your head, it can make it less effort to sit. So it doesn't really matter what chair you're looking at. If it has tilt in space, that could be something I would recommend for people with MS, because of the impact on the energy that's consumed. It's reduced if you're tilted. But that being said, it can have an effect on function. So you may not like to be sitting back in a tilted position because you can't get to the computer or reach something you need to reach, or stand up, things like that. So it can be a bit of a toss-up between function and optimal posture. But the thing that I would say, in terms of, regardless of what wheelchair you go for, it needs to be the right shape for you. So it's more about the postural support that's in the wheelchair as opposed to a wheelchair itself. So it needs to reflect the shape that you are and support you in your kind of optimally supported position, as opposed to a brand or a make or a type of chair. For me, it's about the ability to continue to change your position. So, we have to be in this position for, let's say, typing on the computer or whatever it is that we're doing at a table. So the natural instinct is to be leaning forward and doing that activity, because that's the function that we're doing at the time. And you can't really take that position away from somebody, because you need to do that. But I think the important thing is recognizing times where you can change your position from that. So let's say you need to be at the computer to do 3 hours of work. You could do an hour of work, and then you could, I don't know, tilt back in your chair or lean forward onto something else, or have a stretch in some way, so that you're not always driving this posture to be like this, to be in this like rounded shouldered, rounded spine posture. That we've got times where we can get upright, we can stretch out, we can lean back, we could lean forward up like this as opposed to being pulled down like this. So things that can be useful if you can't change your position could be tilt in space, could be having a lap tray with a beanbag cushion on top of it, so you can really stretch out your shoulders and lean, like open up that chest. So that basically kind of counter postures. We talk about counter postures so that you're not always in the same position. Because if we end up in this position all the time, which is really common for being at the computer, then that's the way that our spine will naturally continue to develop. It's similar to, like, if you always lean one way, that's the way your spine will continue to develop. So if you can have almost try and have positions which enable you to do the opposite to what your natural position is, then that would help to manage posture over time and give you, like, your body the opposite stretch or the opposite position, so that then you're not always doing the same thing.